Hi. Just going to... Wait, why is my mouth moving? I had this problem before, let me see if I can fix it. Yeah, this should be fine. Yeah, there you go. I was muted on Discord, which doesn't stop the audio, but stops this widget from noticing that I'm speaking. Now I just gotta edit this little thing and we'll get started. This is the Spiderverse piece that I've been working on. Okay. Yeah, I had the sketch done, but then I gave it some time to be sure that I like it. It's important to not go right from the sketch to like finalizing it, look at it with fresh eyes, be sure that everything's okay before you do the final art, because sketch is where it's easy to fix stuff. But yeah, I'm going to do inks because it's a comic book style, so I'm doing the whole drawing over with this absolute black. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully, I don't know if it's too optimistic to try to finish this today. It's an absolutely dreadful day here today. It's very, very humid and hot. It's been hot for a few days now. And I live in a tremendously humid city. But even though it has been raining a bunch since yesterday, the temperature just won't go down and it just gets more and more humid. Which means that, I don't know, just the air feels like soup. It's really bad for being productive. Yeah, I did the sketch and the face, which is kind of the more complicated part, off stream. So hopefully I can be efficient now. I do kind of busy work better on stream. When I have to do more complex stuff, I sometimes get a bit stuck in a loop, just kind of not really progressing, or end up talking to chat too much and not making a lot of progress, which is fun, but I do want to get this done. I have a lot of work to do outside of this, but I want to keep posts going as well. So I was working on that, and now I saved this for stream because it's more interesting. I'm really not quite confident enough, I guess, at my sprite work process to stream it. I feel a bit weird about that. What's up, Wolf? But yeah, I've been having fun with this Spider Metroid thing. I decided to make it, instead of one boss like the other ones, I decided to make it more of an involved process and make a bunch of things. This is probably going to be kind of the main one. I don't know if I'm going to do full art for any of the others, but I want to do like a bunch of other stuff for it. More in a sketch format, I guess. Just other pieces based on it. This one's just going to be the single character, and then I can put her in other contexts, or have like the villains and stuff. Let's see, stream, thanks. Hey man, I'm a big fan, what's up? Production. It doesn't say first time chat, but I can't quite remember you before, but thank you so much, and thanks for dropping by. Don't have a lot of time, but it's still cool to see you stream regardless. Yeah, it's always nice of you to drop by, even if you don't have a lot of time. Just saying hi is very appreciated. But yeah, the whole point of streaming is mostly just to kind of talk to people who follow me, because I really don't feel like Twitter's just not great for interactivity. I've said this before on stream, but I feel like Tumblr was a lot better. Not even the mechanics, but just the culture. Like, people felt less weird about sending asks, because it wasn't just DMs, there were asks, which was very clearly kind of so this, not just for your friends, anybody who liked your work or whatever could send you a little letter. And I really like that aspect. Twitter's not great about that. People really don't feel like they can talk to you. And I don't really have a lot of people who draw or, among my friends or anything. Like, I don't really have a drawing community in real life. I feel like I'm pretty lucky about having friends who are into the stuff that I'm into. But art's not really one of those things. So it's cool to be able to talk to people who also enjoy art. Or whatever nerdy thing I'm doing fan art of. I definitely feel the Tumblr Twitter divide you're talking about, but I do think you're friendly enough to the blow is significantly lowered. I guess I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that, but yeah, I don't know. Also, maybe when you get a certain amount of followers or something, people like don't want to bother you and figure a lot of people talk to you, but it really is not the case. I do really enjoy talking to people about art and nerdy things in that platform, but yeah, because most people, you know, they just wanna receive art on their feed and all that. And even most people who watch, you know, most people don't really want to engage in chat, even if they know it's, you know, even if they know it's okay, they just want background noise. You know, it's kind of shy. You feel like you're invisible if you're not talking, otherwise it's like a social situation, and if you're an introvert, then that's already a bit, you know, tiring and not relaxing. Like, you're very friendly, so I think more people are comfortable communicating with you. Yeah, I hope so. Thanks, by the way. But yeah, I try to be very welcoming and down to earth with people, to make it clear that it's not like I'm a big content creator or anything, or, you know, if you try to talk to whatever YouTuber you like, they probably don't wanna, if they have like 1 million subscribers, they probably don't really have the bandwidth to be engaging with everybody, but I am relatively to that, like extremely tiny, and it's not a problem at all. It's also I like how small Discord is. You know, if you're not one of the huge Twitch is. If you're not like a huge streamer or anything, like for the vast majority of people, it's like a dialogue. It's very few people in chat, and you can engage normally with all of them and just have a conversation. It's kind of hard on the internet. We have all these mass communication tools like Twitter, where you're talking kind of to everybody, and I don't think people work very well in that medium. It gets very hostile because you're kind of talking to imagined versions of other people. And when you're invisible and talking to strangers, it's kind of like road rage, like when people don't really see each other and they're talking to someone, interacting with them one time, the interactions are very hostile. But if you talk to people, you have a regular in your chat or something, even if you disagree with them on one thing, you're probably more likely to talk to them like a person and be able to, actually discuss something. I just realized Metroids would make great inheritors. What are inheritors? I'm not sure what that is. Is that like a Spider-Man thing? You're talking about this universe? I was thinking about whether I should, but no, that's silly. It would be kind of more of a shit post, and I do want to make this kind of a consistent uniform, so I'm pretty sure I'm not going to do it. But I was going to make Samus be bit by Gimmer, which is like the crawling enemy from the early Metroid games, which kind of looks like a spider. But that's kind of dumb. It would be just to be silly, but if I'm going to make a lot of posts and kind of make it a consistent mini universe, then I'm not going to muddy into that. I hope the volume is okay. Tell me if the balance is off to either music be too loud or too low. Inheritors are the main antagonists of Spiderverse and Spider-Geddon. They travel the multiverse for living beings with spider powers to eat. Oh, really? I gotta look into that then. Yeah, my Spider-Man knowledge isn't as highly. I appreciate input, and in part, it helps that I'm, since the design phase, I've been like asking for suggestions from people and reading comments, because I'm really not that knowledgeable about Marvel, and that kind of extends to Spider-Man. Like I very briefly read it as a kid. Like I read the original comics. I had a compilation of the first couple of years of the Spider-Man comic, so I didn't have like the first comic he was in, because it wasn't his own comic, but it's like his comic when it started, and I really like that. But then I tried buying some then current ones, and unfortunately I was a kid in the 90s, then that means that the Clone Saga was happening, and so I did not like that. It was a completely incomprehensible mess, like probably one of the worst comic book arcs of all time to just jump blindly in the middle of, because it was absurdly convoluted and just never ending. So you wouldn't get anything resembling a full story. Like it would just be that same thread kind of going on and on and on and never resolving. And it was really overly confusing with a bunch of different Spider-Men. And you're not knowing who was a clone, everybody was a clone. and some terrible, terrible designs in there. Like Scarlet Spider was okay, but some of the others were really terrible. They're essentially vampires, but they don't turn into one. Oh, but they don't turn you into one of them when they bite you. Gotcha. Okay, I'll click that. Like right now, I want to keep with the drawing, but after the stream, I'll look into them. Thanks. Yeah, I'm going to do some parallels. I was also going to do a villain post as kind of a joke post. So I had this. Where was it? Like here. I was preparing to make like. This is like the meme version of Rhino that they use. Sometimes they put him in the Me and the Boys. And Ridley as kind of Green Goblin person. So it's going to make them like purposely silly, but I'm not sure. Like if I get an actually cool idea to make like villains, Spider-Man villains as Metroid villains, I might just make it seriously. But that idea was to just make it as a joke. But one thing that I definitely want to make as a follow-up is like Black Suit and Venom being, the Phazon suit and Dark Samus. I'm still not sure if it's going. I think I'm just going to make it the symbiote and not Phazon. Although it would be different because I could have the symbiote attached to someone else to make Dark Samus, but like the difference between Venom and Dark Samus is basically Dark Samus is the suit just living by itself more so than attaching to someone else. Although I guess you could say it attached to Metroid Prime. But Dark Samus didn't really retain any Metroid characteristics. So it kind of looked more like Metroid Prime just ripped the face out of Samus and then it started walking around by itself. But the Metroid part pretty much died. Krogmeyer should be Shocker so Samus can say, "You can't escape me, I'll chase you to the ends of Samus." Crocker. I think I remember that. That's from like the 90s cartoon. They're like a really weird sound voice thing. I feel like I've seen that meme. Yeah. I gotta pull up some Spider-Man villains and some Metroid bosses and see what's compatible. Then I'll decide whether I'll do it as a shitpost or as actual character design. I never really rewatched the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. I used to like it as a kid, but I'm not sure. I've seen, like, I also liked the X-Men from the 90s, and I've seen clips of that, and it doesn't seem to have aged well. Like, when you're a kid, you really can't tell that much whether animation is good. Like, good animation is kind of wasted on kids, I think. Because I really couldn't tell the difference that much. Like, I never remember some cartoons looking as much better than others as they did. Like, I had Aladdin and Aladdin The Return of Jafar, and I feel like I had an idea that the original one looked a bit better, but actually, the original one looks great and Return of Jafar looks absolutely awful. It looks bad for like TV animation. It's very ugly. Ravenbeak could probably be something great. You just need some time to figure out what. Yeah, I'm sure there's some. Like Ravenbeak is a very classic kind of villain, basically like Bert Ganondorf. I'm sure he would fit in as someone. Saw 90s X-Men for the first time when I was 17 and loved it. I'm 24 now. Yeah, so I guess maybe it aged well. I feel like it had like pretty good storylines, but like the animation and voice acting was pretty rough, at least based on watching clips of it. That opening though still absolutely slaps, like the opening theme. Few years ago I tried watching X-Men Evolution because it looked nicer and it seems well done, but I feel like it's aimed at a bit of a younger demographic. I was already like young adult and I didn't really enjoy it that much. Like the arena is cool and they're a bit generally younger, and I just wasn't that interested in it at that point. But maybe it's really good for a younger audience. Kind of feel that's weird that there isn't like a great X-Men series, either animated or not. It really feels like it's way more suited for serialization. Really, I feel like Disney should do that. They shouldn't even make X-Men movies. They should have like a well-animated TV show, or even more, like multiple series in the same universe, and just put them on Disney Plus in a separate universe from the movie universe. Because you can't retroactively add mutants to the universe. Like mutants have to have existed and been known about pretty much forever. Otherwise, like you can't have the older characters. They're doing a sequel. Oh, sorry, I skipped one. Evolution is what created X-23. Really? I didn't know that. Am I thinking of the right X-23, like the girl Wolverine, basically, who's also like the girl in Logan and is in, I think, Marvel's Capcom 3. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's her. The one with two claws, yeah. Didn't know if she was from that. They're going to do a sequel to 90s X-Men on Disney Plus. I don't think that's a great idea. I really feel they should have let go of that act. Wait, do you mean the movies? I'm assuming you mean the movies, but maybe it's the cartoon. I really don't feel like they should really let go of the 90s movies. Like, the first couple weren't terrible for the time, but I really don't think they're that good. The cartoon, okay, that's a lot better. Because the movies, like, they made First Class, and it was so good. And they had the perfect chance, because it was like a prequel to everything, they had the perfect chance to just advance in time again and have different actors and different everything and just have it be a completely different continuity. But they immediately tied it back into the earlier movie series, which just isn't worth it. Like, I'm sorry, they have some good stuff, like Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen as Dr. X and Professor X and Magneto are great and iconic and awesome, but the movie just isn't that great. But yeah, the cartoon sounds cool. I mean, I feel like that's a pretty solid X-Men lore version, and they get to start from a bit newer material, like hero stories, like adaptations. have this tendency of always like starting from the beginning of those characters, and they're not going very far, and then they reset it and start from the beginning again. So a lot of cooler later things just never get adapted. So already starting from a universe that has some distance gone. Sounds really good. I kind of wish with the DC direct-to-video animated movies, I really wish they hadn't like shifted into adapting comics, because I kind of feel like it's always like direct adaptations just end up at best being just a little bit worse than the original material. Like there's always something lost in translation, you have to make a new thing. And I wish instead they had just continued the animated universe as direct-to-video movies, because that universe was really solid. There are very few things I don't like about the DC animated universe. And they're not even like continuity. For example, I feel like Wonder Woman's pretty boring. What else? Like some characters are in their best versions, but it's usually like really good. I just hope they keep it tonally consistent. Young Justice Season 3 was noticeably more violent and it ruined it for me. Yeah, I feel like the tone was pretty good. Like it was pretty melodramatic, but it works. Like that kind of story, especially that like early X-Men, like 70s, even 70s, 80s, is very melodramatic, and you have to have that tone to sell it. And people can be afraid nowadays. Like it's like they're afraid of being mocked for it, but people get in the vibe. Even if they make fun of it, they can still vibe with it, you know, like with JoJo, everybody is, even like especially JoJo fans, really make a lot of fun of kinda the absurdity of it being played kinda straight within that universe. But like while people are watching it, they get in rhythm with it, so you can be very over the top with the emoting and all that, and it's fine. As for Young Justice, I couldn't get too far in Young Justice. Like it looks really nice, but it took itself. It's not even like it took itself too seriously. It just was humorless and lacking in personality. It just felt very flat and unenergetic, which is a weird defect for like a superhero story, because usually you have this really broad and like fun pop characters, but they all felt kind of sad and serious. Even like all the way to the art also, you know, it's nice, it's well made, but it's a bit stiff. So it felt like kind of a waste, because it was clearly so well done and like there was a lot of care put into it. But it was pretty lame. I even saw an episode where they were fighting Lobo, and even Lobo was kind of seriously just bad guy, punchy man. Like that's overtly a parody character. It was kind of like, you know, Deadpool in X-Men Origins Wolverine, like playing the character completely straight. Oh, thanks for the subscription. 5 months already. It's about time, same time I started working at GameStop. Here's the 5 more, thank you so much. yeah. Now I'm even completely like out of touch with the Marvel Cinematic Universe too. I haven't watched any of the later movies. I don't think I've watched anything after Endgame. I know, like Spider-Man is in the universe, and I did watch the Spider-Man one. Um, but like there are other stuff, the Avengers stuff. Haven't really seen. I didn't see Black Widow. Didn't see the Eternals. I didn't even know the Eternals was a movie. I don't feel like they publicized that one very much. I kind of thought it was a TV show. And like I didn't watch any other TV shows. Though like WandaVision looks good, but I don't have Disney Plus, and I don't feel like torrenting it. Like there's so much stuff to watch that I like can legitimately watch. I've been subscribed again since at least last streams. I don't know why it's acting like I just did it. Yeah, there's a lot of delay. Maybe I don't know how it works actually, but I thought maybe the previous one hasn't run out yet, so now the new one kicked in. I don't know. Only other thing worth seeing so far besides Spidey is Shang-Chi. Yeah, also Shang-Chi, I never heard about it until it was out. But yeah, I feel like they were a lot more heavily advertised early on. Like whenever there was a Marvel movie, you couldn't escape people. Maybe in part it was like not paid advertising, it was like the hype, and the hype's kind of dying down because it's been like over a decade of it. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like they're as big cultural events as they were. Then again, like nobody really knows who the Eternals are or Shang-Chi. Like you have to be into comics, which a small minority of people who watch comic books movies are into comics. Like people were at least kind of aware of Thor and Captain America and Iron Man, even if they weren't really popular. They were like in pop culture. People had like seen nothing of them and heard and read nothing of them, but they were aware of the characters. This line's not great. Should be more of a curve. But yeah, the Spider-Man was fun. I feel like I didn't watch the previous trilogy, but I feel like this whole trilogy is fun. But it's not as good as Spiderverse, but they're well made. They're likable. As a comic fan, the number one thing I hate is people that proclaim they're such huge fans. Like if you were really a fan, I'd think you'd go just a little bit out of your way to check out the source material. I guess comics generally are more interesting than the movies. I feel like if you like the characters, it's definitely worth looking at some comics. They have higher highs and lower lows, I'd say, because there are some absolutely terrible comics. Like as bad as some movies get, I feel like comics can be a lot more offensively bad, because there's a lot less oversight. Movies tend to be kind of safe. so they can be kind of soulless and bad. But comics have some absolute atrocities. Like characters behaving completely out of character in awful ways, or just terrible like plot points that they decide to do, completely tactless stuff, you know, really offensive dumb stuff that they decide to do for shock value usually. A lot of movies are afraid to get weird, and I think that really holds them back. The best ones are the weirdest, like Guardians and Infinity War. Yeah, I feel like they're gradually seeing that it is okay, that they don't really alienate people at this point. They are a little bit weirder and more comic booky. And yeah, I tend to prefer that to the more like straightforward action, beat the bad guys stories that traditionally are given to heroes. But yeah, I feel like a lot of stuff has been more comic booky, like the new Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey were a lot of fun and kind of loose like that. Apparently this is not a very common opinion, but I really like Wonder Woman 88. It felt like a kind of goofy story that comics would do. Suicide Squad was great. Haven't seen Birds of Prey. It's kind of in the same vein. Like, it's less crazy stuff, like giant monsters and stuff, but it's one of those fun, quirky characters going on not even an adventure, but just, you know, getting into conflicts with each other, and it's fun. I really like it. Ian McGregor is really great as Black Skull. Like, it's kind of a novel interpretation of the character, but I feel like they took him in a cool direction, and he's great. He does a great job. Also, Margot Robbie does a good job as Harley Quinn when the writing is not terrible and they're not like mainly focused on putting her butt in the center of the frame, and you know, like the original Suicide Squad really didn't use her, but she does a good job with the character. The Harley Quinn is kind of getting overexposed pretty quick. Like, she got popular and they put her in a million things. But I don't know, it's a fun character. The animated series is really good as well. Like, again, more straight up comedies. It's probably a good idea for adapting stuff. Black Mask, yeah, Black Mask, sorry. His mask is a skull, so I mixed it up. But yeah. I'm going to turn on a fan. Tell me if this is too noisy. Oops. Here we go. And also, they completely, because like Birds of Prey was before the new Suicide Squad, and they just completely ignore the Joker. They like it's not an origin story of Harley Quinn like breaking up with the Joker, because they were together in the end of the original Suicide Squad. uh, she just already is broken up with him in the start, and then he never gets talked about. Anyway, gotta go. Have a good one, you two. Thanks for dropping by. Real talk, I thought you already had a fan on. Sounds the same. Okay, good. Yeah, that's probably the computer fan that was audible. But yeah, as I said, starting up, it is obnoxiously hot here. So I did the most annoying thing, which is this spider shoulder pads thing that I decided to create. Yeah, I got to move on to other stuff. I'm thinking whether I should use the pen tool for some of these bigger lines. I'll try by hand, and if I find it annoying, I can do the pen. Yeah, at the same time as hero movies have been getting better, I guess at some point there is a saturation. Like, there's been a few too many for people to like watch most of them. Like, I don't know. Up until like halfway into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I feel like people who were into comics saw pretty much every superhero movie that wasn't like considered completely awful, and even a lot of the ones that were considered awful, like people would watch. It's kind of a sense of obligation, I guess, just to see how bad they messed it up. They kind of felt, I don't know. As a comic book fan, that was just what you did. You watched the superhero movies and then you gave your opinion on it or whatever. But now there are so many of them so often for such a long time, I think people kind of let that go. And it's not like a whole event that everybody needs to partake in. At least, I don't know, that's what I feel, interacting with a lot of nerds and being on the side on the internet. I feel like up until a point, whatever movie came out was the talk of the town for a bit. Like, whether it was good, bad, or average, they pass by completely unnoticed sometimes. But I do wish comics themselves managed to hit a wider audience. At this point, they're pretty much just like testing grounds for characters and plot lines that they can later use in movies and TV shows. The sales are absurdly low. I really don't think the industry would be self-sustaining if the movies didn't have a use to it, If the comic publishers didn't also belong to the same people who later can use them as basis for movies, they probably would be shutting down a lot and have a lot fewer stories going. Which is too bad, because we're not in a bad era of comics at all. Like, I don't get that much time to read them anymore, but the stuff from the last decade that I read was actually pretty good. And the culture has improved a lot. They're a lot less juvenile than they were. Not in like, oh, these are stories for adults. Like, there was a lot of teenage boy mentality in in comic books, in what was considered like edgy. They kind of alienated me even like as a teenager. And there are a lot of more art styles being tried out. There's some really interesting looking comics with a lot more stylization going on. It's not like that. There used to be like styles that were just what was in vogue at a certain time, and most artists would draw kind of similar to that. So like in the 90s, everybody was super muscular with really defined muscles and the pointy feet and all that, and narrow eyes, and then everybody was drawing like that. Now different series get different levels of like cartooniness and use really different color schemes. There are a lot of very interesting things. As I mentioned, most of my interest is in comics just as an artist. I like looking at them for the art and to study a certain artist, because then you get to see like a bunch of drawings by them of a bunch of different actions, so it's really useful to study a style. And there's a lot more interesting styles popping up from comics in like the last 10 years than when I was a teenager. I really don't want to draw hands. I don't even have a problem with sketching hands. It's doing the final art that I really hate. Like doing the inks, because then you have to be so precise with it. It's so easy for it to look weird. I'm really not getting this line. But yeah, I'll keep seeing after posting this. Like, as long as this keeps getting, doing well in terms of social media stuff, I probably will extend this a lot, because I kind of want to get a niche for myself, I guess, in character designs and concepts and stuff like that. That's something I really enjoy doing, but it's really hard to get any kind of traction with original stuff on the internet, as most artists will say. Like, that's why pretty much everybody does fan art, because that's how you reach people. That's what gets shared around. So I've done some character concepts and I enjoy it, but it doesn't go very far. So I feel like if I make it more of a regular thing, like if I'm kind of jumping from universe to universe, but actually doing a lot of concepts and doing, like kind of building a little world, and before moving on to the next one, I'm making it just one piece, making it full character concepts, and as if I was doing concept art and character design and all that for an existing thing. Then maybe at some point, enough people who like that kind of stuff will be following me that I can get something that's completely original off the ground, hopefully. Ultimately, that is something that I would really enjoy doing. If I could at some point move on from making all my money from commissions to having something like a Patreon or something where people are contributing small amounts of money, like a bunch of people contributing a small amount of money each, for me to make content kind of for everyone and original content. That would be like the dream scenario. So while I am doing commissions, because that's what makes my money right now, whatever I do that isn't commissions, I'm trying to direct towards maybe eventually getting to do that. But that is something that a small minority of artists manage to have. Like people giving them any real amount of money regularly for their own original content is pretty difficult. Hey, you can't do it if you don't try. Then it's a 0% chance. Yeah, there are people who like exist on Twitter and stuff like that, just drawing original characters and manage to get paid for that. That's really cool. Not sure about it. This is the robot arm, so I'm trying to figure out how the joint is going to work. Sometimes what works in a sketch doesn't look so great when you have well-defined lines for it. I just leave this here a bit and come back to it. Just do the organic arm. Playlist that I'm watching is really well done, like the visual part. They hacked the camera into the Metroid Prime games to just show environments from different angles and without the HUD and all that. But you know, with all the animations running and the lighting and all that. So it looks really nice. A lot of extra work. I wonder if people monetize this. Like I have ad block on. Of course it would be illegal to monetize it, but I wonder if people do. Because there's a lot of like soundtrack compilations online. Of course people do stuff like that just to do it, but maybe they can go under the radar, because as far as I know, video game OSTs aren't usually in Content ID robots, so you would have to manually go looking for them and shutting them down. Though if you... yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Nintendo would bother. Is the music a bit low now? I'm going to make it higher. Still haven't decided how I'm going to color this. I think I'm going to do in a way inspired by the Spiderverse movie. I'm going to do very loud colors for it. Not really modern comic, like typical comic colors. I can't wait to do the spider all over again in the tiny one. It's gonna be great. Yeah, for any younger people reading comics, but if you don't, I would recommend looking into it. There are apps for buying stuff, but also, you know, you can look and try stuff to see what you enjoy just by looking at them up on the internet, because comics are pretty much all on the internet. I really feel like they should make, if there isn't something like a DC account, then you can, for like an app for reading DC comics, where they give you a few for free when you make an account. There definitely should be. Because nowadays it's kind of hard to get people into something if they have to pay to try it without knowing whether they will like it, you know. There's so much free entertainment out there, or entertainment that they probably already purchased in some way, that they already have a streaming service or whatever. That initial barrier, like before you even know if you like this thing, you have to give me money. It's probably pretty rough to get people over at this point. Really, they probably just should make, like, you not even need an account to read the first issue. Like, the first issue of every comic should probably just be made available for free, like in a public website. Just so you can, like, put an ad to it and have people click and immediately be reading it. Because they really need to get more people. Like, even I'm, like, younger, like way younger, I feel, than the average comic reader. I feel like the average comic reader is probably pushing 40 at this point. Not really the average, I guess, because the average, you know, pulls down. There are a lot of people older than that reading. But what I mean is, like, the biggest demographic is probably dudes who've been reading comics since the 80s or early 90s. It's just kind of the last time they actually recruited new people. And the medium is very much to blame for that. Way too many comic books are way too focused on these people, because, you know, they're kind of whales. They're the ones who will buy everything. So the comics are always like referencing older stuff. So if you're reading as a new reader, it just means nothing to you. Like not all of them, but there's a really bad habit of the medium. Thinking of making her hair bun thing larger, but then it just raises more questions of how was this inside the helmet. Like this still wouldn't fit inside the helmet, but it looks less glaring. But again, I feel like that's a thing in comics, like when you put on a mask or a helmet or something, your hair just disappears. It's like in a video game, they despawn the model for the hair. Maybe I'll just do this one and then color it, so I can have a thing completed. Like instead of doing the lines for this one and then maybe not even finish the lines for the other one, I can do this and then call it finished. Also, weekend streams, usually less people watching, so like I wanted to stream because it had been a while, but no reason to make it super lengthy. What to do next? I don't know how it took so long actually to make Spiderverse Samus, considering I was doing this Metroid in Other Universes thing, and you know, during most of the time people making their spider sonas was like a huge thing on the internet. It just didn't occur to me, it just never clicked. I guess I thought of like I didn't think of Spider-Man as like a universe because he's in the Marvel universe, and Marvel universe Samus just kind of wouldn't mean anything because she is perfectly compatible with the universe as a whole. Like she could look exactly the same. It's not even like I did DC animated universe, but that was just because of the art style. Like it was just as if drawn by Bruce Timm, because that was an art style that really influenced me when I was young. Like I really liked the DC animated universe, and it was one of the first artists that I actively like tried to copy to understand their style and incorporate the things I liked about it. So it was fun to go back to that style. the helmet, I am definitely going to use the pen tool to make, but I think I'll just do it in another layer after I've done the hands. So yeah, let's go. I did start, I mentioned when I was drawing the Metal Gear stuff that I wanted to play Snake Eater. I did start it. I do kind of hesitate to start a section because I generally play video games in pretty short sections. And with Metal Gear you never know when you're going to get like caught in a cutscene that takes forever. But I'm liking it okay. Yeah, it's kind of funny that the game starts and then there's like a huge cutscene and then a bunch of talking in through the communicator, and then you play like 5 or 6 rooms, and then there's another huge cutscene, and then you walk back to a bridge, and then there's another huge cutscene. And then they roll the credits. Like, literally roll the credits, they play the intro, so that was just the intro of the game, I guess. It's probably like an hour and a half of total time. Like the original Metal Gear Solid played the theme kinda when you went up the elevator after one room of stealth. This one I guess is going to be a lot longer considering how much game there was before the opening song. This hand's already not looking great. I won't polish it too much because I might need to change it. I'm just going to draw it once. The hand was a bit big, I'm making it smaller. That's another reason why I don't really stream games. Like I've thought about it, but then I'd have to like play a huge section, and that's not usually how I've been playing games. I usually play them in small bits to kind of recharge the batteries and be able to like focus again. Like you tend to lose whatever you're doing, you tend to lose a little bit of productivity if you do it for a very long time straight. So I break it up play a bit of any game. There's something like the 3DS I find pretty useful for that. I can just have it on my desk, and there are a lot of games that are very pick up and play for it. That's how I played a lot of Shin Megami Tensei 4. Like I played it when I was traveling and I was sick, but then after that, like, I finished it by playing it in tiny bits because I was losing focus in work. And RPGs are great for that, especially, you know, ones that are more dungeon crawl-y and less and have, you know, don't have huge dialogue scenes or anything like that. The Megami Tensei games are pretty good about being efficient with their dialogue, which is pretty rare for JRPGs. Even like Persona, which is really focused on character development, they usually play out about as succinctly as they really could. And they're broken up into these little bits that you play, and then, okay, your social link went up, so that's you know, there's a progress to that, and you move on to your next activity. Breaks it up, doesn't make it super draggy. You get to save your game and stop if you need to stop. But nowadays that's less of a problem, because most consoles, now you can just stop them, I guess. Alright. Oh, then there's the webs. I might do the webs after colors, because that would just make it more annoying to color. Rotate this. No. Is my key binding messed up? Here we go. For some reason I lost all my hotkeys a while back. I think at some point there may have been a blackout and Photoshop was opened, like briefly losing power. Maybe Photoshop was open, but somehow screwed it up. then it's going to be even more annoying. Though if it is in an impossible position in the end, I can say it's because the robot hand doesn't have the same limitations. This one's kind of angled towards the viewer slightly, which makes it even worse. No, I'm not doing that. Weird fat fingers. So I have to take a good way to evaluate it when it's flipped. I'm going to have to, like, this is the best angle for drawing it, but also I'm kind of asking for it by changing the pose of the hand in the ink phase. I just didn't like that one. This song's really good. All Super Metroid songs are really good, but this is among the best. Yeah, not the best. How would you hold a round thing? The lower the finger, they should be more angled inwards. The ink's getting really dirty down here. It's not a place that people are going to focus too much on, hopefully. And I still do have to make this hand or robotic-y, which should help. There's all the joints and all that. You should start from the bottom. Here we go. Looking a bit more looking a bit more like armored hands. I guess it's fine. I won't be perfectionistic with hands.
Hello there.
Hello there, what's up? Hey, what's up, Neon? Yeah, it's been a while, I haven't been streaming too much. I think this is only my second stream back since I went traveling for the holidays and then I got sick, maybe COVID, but I'm totally fine now. And I've generally been pretty busy, so I'm trying to stream, but it hasn't been easy to find. It's been a while because my PC broke. Oh, sorry to hear that. Hope it's better now. I thought my graphics card had stopped working, but it was actually a weird thing where I just changed in Windows settings which of my monitors was the main monitor, and I changed it to the one that's connected to my motherboard, not my graphics card. And for some reason, if the number one monitor is connected to the graphics card, they can all use the graphics card, but if it's the one connected to the motherboard, then they all stop using the graphics card. So I just wasn't using it. Because it was weird, like stuff was running terribly, but then I would run diagnostics and it would say it was functioning just fine. So then I figured out that's what it was. It took me a while to notice it because at the time I changed, I really wasn't playing anything. Yeah, but a replacement part and it's good again. Yeah, good to hear. Hopefully it wasn't a very expensive part. I was really not looking forward to buy a new graphics card, because it's super expensive right now in Brazil. Our currency is really devalued, and that's usually bad for electronics because they're very tied to the dollar. So if the dollar is high relative to our currency, that means that all the money we make is not worth a lot to buy electronics. So yeah, I was probably just going to be without a graphics card for a while if it was really broken. Probably just play 3DS and indie games, I don't know. You could probably still run indie games fine. Yeah, nice to see you. What's up? Hope you're doing good. Hope you didn't get COVID over the holidays. A lot of people did, including maybe me. Not sure. But if I did, it wasn't like a bad case or anything, which makes sense because I'm vaccinated with 2 doses. And I have no like comorbidities that I'm aware of. Other than like anxiety, which actually is a comorbidity, but I don't think it's one of the worst ones. So Metroid Dread is pretty cool. You hadn't even like been here since Metroid Dread came out. I didn't think it was that long. Yeah, it's really good. I got to play it. Yeah, I really liked it. I even made like a Metroid tier list and put it on S tier as the 3rd one in S tier, behind only Super and Zero Mission, which are my favorites. But it's really hard because it's like a new game. It's really hard to know, you know, where it will be for me, like long term. It could go up or down. But I'm glad that a lot of people really liked it, and Metroid got popular again. And it won a Game of the Year for something, but I don't really care about Game Awards. But at least, you know, it means that people like it. My PC broke down, I think, before December. Yeah. But I played Metroid early November, because it took a while for it to get here. But yeah, it's really good. So probably the series is going to come back now and they're going to make more games. They're not going to give up on Prime 4. They're probably throwing more people at it to make it move faster. Getting more stuff out there. Probably not going to be terrible, Prime 4, because I usually think like games being delayed or started over is probably a good sign. It means they didn't just push out anything, or pushing out the game unfinished, which is a thing that just happens nowadays. It has become an acceptable thing in the video game industry to launch things before they're done. I got it for Christmas, played it for the last week of the year, and it became my favorite 2021 releases. Yeah, it was really good. I couldn't really rank it among 2021 releases because it's literally the only 2021 game I played, but it's really good. It's nice. Finally made a Metroid again, and a Metroid that gets what's interesting about Metroid, and it isn't just left behind by its own like successors. Like there's a lot of Metroidvania games, a lot of indie Metroidvania games, a lot of really good ones. So I'm glad that Metroid isn't like just lagging behind them and doing the same game that they did in the 2000s, you know. They actually did a pretty good one. You know, like Castlevania, I like the Metroidvanias, but they're kind of the same games in Symphony of the Night, all of them, and there's a lot better stuff being done. So I'm glad Metroid can compete. Can we talk about spoilers yet, or shall we wait? I feel like it's okay. I feel like people have started posting Dread spoilers a while back. And I mean, surely anybody who listens to my stream already knows Metroid Dread spoilers. I don't know, like people talked a lot about spoilers. I don't think it's that spoilable of a game. Like knowing how it ends doesn't ruin it or anything. Yeah, so glad it wasn't easy. Yeah, it has some tough bits. Like there's a lot of tougher stuff in the genre, but it's not like a Pokemon situation where they have like really good mechanics that could be difficult, but Nintendo just really wants to make it accessible to everyone, so they don't actually use it to make interesting challenges. Like I lost to Ravenbeak. What else? I took a few tries to, you know, the guy that the boss that gives you the bombs that where you put a bunch of them and you kind of go pa, 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 pa. Like that multiple bomb thing where you charge the bomb and put and there's multiple ones. I kind of sequence broke. You know, you can charge a Shine Spark and then go backwards up a sled where you get a missile expansion, and then you get speed up on the other side, and then if you Shine Spark up, you get to kind of get to this boss a bit early. I did that, so I was kind of weak fighting him, and I just never thought to slide under its legs, so I was being dumb and just taking free damage. So I died to that guy like 3 times. I guess it isn't actually difficult if you figure out you can slide under its legs. I pretty much instantly beat it when I figured that out. But I thought it was a good boss. Don't remember. Yeah, it's just a super version of those guys who look like this. So yeah, basically you can't really counter it when it raises its claws and strikes down at you, but you can still slide under it. So I was just taking the damage every time, and it took like multiple energy tanks. So I was struggling against that, but now I think I remember that when I realized you can just slide under it, then you'd really have to mess up to take damage. But yeah, there's also some enemies that are kind of annoying too. You know, they're fairly difficult to get around. Although they don't punish you a lot. Since you just get a checkpoint when entering an enemy zone, I feel like they would be scarier if you went back to the safe zone. But I get that people would find that frustrating. But they must be really scary for speedrunners, because one mistake can get you killed, and then for a speedrun that's a pretty big time loss. Yeah, it was frustrating like once or twice, yeah. Yeah, it feels like the bosses are very like fair. So you usually have to mess up to take damage. Those are the bosses I'm remembering dying to, but I also did die to enemies. Yeah, it's pretty good. And pretty much guarantees that there will be more in a not huge time. Because it's pretty quick to make a 2D Metroid, right? So, as long as they know there's a demand for it, they could probably put one out every year if they felt like it. Like now that they already have the engine, especially, they could make these like they were Mega Man games. Every 1 or 2 years, 3 if it's going bad. I mean, yeah, I don't think they will, because I don't think it's the kind of series, I don't know, that they're going to want to just have coming out all the time, but they could when it comes to like development time, unless they, you know, make it more ambitious, because basically it is kind of you know, almost feels like an indie game nowadays. Like, it's not more elaborate than a lot of games that are done by very small studios. So if Nintendo wants to make it immediately, they can just throw a bunch of workers at it and, you know, a bunch of man hours and do it in a couple of months if they really wanted to, you know, because you don't need real hours, you need man hours. So if you put a bunch of people working on it, you just crack it out immediately. It's a fraction of the people you need to make a AAA game nowadays. But I really wouldn't especially want that. I feel like they should work a lot on the design and make sure that it's good. And come up with new concepts, not just make it like Mega Man, where it's just the same gameplay basically, and just new maps. One thing they could do, it might not be like a good financial idea, but one thing they could do is like a Metroid game with a map maker, so that you could share worlds. Because it's one of, like, behind Super Mario with like Lunar Magic, Super Metroid was probably like the most popular game for people like ROM hacking. Maybe it's a bias of just me seeing them a lot, but I feel like they were really common. There are a lot of Super Metroid ROM hacks. And it's actually a lot easier, having played with most of them, it's a lot easier to make a map that feels interesting in an exploration free world game than in Mario, where you actually have to be good at level design for it not to be boring. In Metroid it's more about creating a world. You can just use your creativity, you don't have to be a level designer to make it challenging or interesting. So that could be pretty cool. BRB, no problem. Yeah, almost done. I do need the web still. But let's do the helmet first. I'm not even going to do a layer, I'm just going to use a history brush here. Let's do here, 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 and then connect back. And now we can figure out this shape. I have obtained a banana. Good. I actually hate bananas, but good for you. I'm just going to draw the helmet over everything, but then I'll erase it. We've had a conversation about bananas already. I will always mention that I hate bananas. They're the worst fruit. So I've made the mask, not a mask, but a helmet. So the eyes still impossibly emote, with like opening and closing, but it still doesn't make any sense when it's a mask. So whatever. It's a technological helmet that morphs, I guess. First I'll do this line, I guess. Cool. Yeah, good enough. Wanna get this done. Probably should use the pen too. I'm lazy. It's going to be fine. Bit dirty, but oh well. These two also don't quite match. This, let's just lay it down on its side. Very important thing for drawing, always draw like flipped stuff around. Always draw like C's, never D's. These aren't as... You're just never going to be as dexterous as that, unless you're, you know, left-handed, in which case the opposite is true. There's this. Still not at all a uniform arc. But whatever. Close enough. flip back. Let's take the history brush now. It's all set, and get rid of everything that should be behind. What? Oh, I'm dumb. I should have flipped first. I put the history brush when it was in this orientation. Now that's better. Is that it? I think this is it. Oh, there's a bit of detail in the robot arm that I still need to do. So let's get that done real quick, and we can finally move on to colors and call it a day. Another great song. Should I just... I want to use actual circles to do this. I mean, actually, no. To keep the line uniform, I'm just going to use the pen tool. Smaller. It's squished around this bit. And now we can transform path. Make the whole thing smaller. Here in the middle. And then do a boop. And there we are. So yeah, as I said, I'm going to do the webs after, because they should be annoying for coloring. Well, let's color. Let me get my reference up here. Oh, I didn't quite finish one line, weirdly. I think it's because I lowered the finger. So here we are. Where's the color layer? Continue, select all layers 100. Boop, boop, boop. Let's take the orange bits. And then refine edge. Make a nice orange and place it. Now for reds. Fine edge. I'm making the red slightly towards the pink side, magenta rather. There you go. All of them are subject to adjustments. Oh, I missed a bit of red here. Oh, and the helmet's also red. But I might... we'll see. No, I'll just do it the exact same. Oops. Alright. Now... oh, there's a thing I didn't do properly. Was it in the sketch? It was. I just interpreted it as a shadow, which it isn't. There is a little bit of distinction that I didn't make here. I'm also just going to delineate something that I hadn't. So a couple of things. There's like the end of the red, and then there's a dark stripe here. Also, the palm of this hand is all dark as well. So I'm going to use a thin line and already cut it here. There we go. Oops, no. Okay, here we go. Should be fine. No. First the red. Now the blacks, which will not be literally black. It will mostly be like shaded heavily later. Yeah. It was just kind of a bluish green, like this. A bit of orange I missed. Then I'm probably going to stop at about here. I do want to research a little bit. I'm going to look up some images of the Spiderverse movie to think about how the light is going to be. For now it's just the flat colors. The eyes are green, they're bright green when she's wearing the suit, but they're like, they light up, so right now they are just a dark screen turned off kind of color. This was hard to select, so I just used the behind brush. It's good to fill in areas like this. And the rest. Is the rest of the arm just all green? Well, there's this. Also, it's in between area. Let's make this black. And this is light blue. That's the color of the grapple beam. Oops, this is also supposed to be black. And yep, the rest is going to be green. Not going to bother the fingers, just going to use the behind brush. So it's kind of make it grayer than this. Yeah, I think this is good. Still pretty bright, but I want to keep the colors very distinct before I start working on them and changing them up with lighting. So skin. Oh, here's the situation. I'm going to use a temporary bit of black here. Boop. Just so I can select things better. Forgot a bit. Yeah, so we have skin and hair. Oops, again forgot a couple bits of skin. There you go. I'll make the eyebrows a bit darker. Now I'll need to... I'll just draw by hand the rest of the detail. I'm not going to do shadows yet, but I'm going to do lips. Alrighty. So this is it for today. We're going to... Let me bring up the sketch here. So yeah, there's going to be a very simple background, but it's going to be separated into panels. I'm going to shade them both, of course. Still the alignment for the other one. Not sure if I'll do that on stream or what. We'll see. I'm streaming, you know, whenever I can, which hasn't been as often as I'd like, but yeah. So I feel like that's a decent point for me to take a break. As I said, you kind of lose efficiency after a while. And yeah, 2 hours is my usual stream time, so gonna see you guys later. Probably not enough people to raid anybody in the on the weekends. There usually isn't a lot of live viewership, so yeah, not even gotten to bother raiding anybody. So yeah, see you guys around. Thanks for dropping by.